Hey, everybody, what's up? This is Corey. Welcome to the Black Podcasters Association's first episode of the Podcasters Toolkit series. Today we have Jay Ray, one of our group members here. He's also a host or co-host of the Q, right? The Q podcast.
It's Q Points, the Q Points podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I screwed up. See,
No, it's all good. We here. It's Q Point. The Q is right. You add the points at the end, and you got us. So we good.
Podcast. So today we're going to do a special episode about Podchaser, and which is like the IMDB of podcasting. And Jay Ray volunteered to come and do a presentation today to help us understand the benefits of why we should be on Podchaser and how to use it. So without further ado, I'm going to allow Jay Ray to talk about himself and let everybody know what it is he does, and then we'll get right into it.
Perfect, man. Well, thank you so much for creating a platform where we can have conversations like this, because it's incredibly important. I find that in the work that I've done and the conversations that I've had, it's important to have groups with folks that look like you that you can have these conversations with. So I want to thank you for creating the space for us to do this, and thank you for inviting me to be on this show. This is exciting. So shout out to everybody who's joining us as well. This is really dope. So my name is Jay Ray. I'm going to do it like I do it on my show. My name is Jay Ray, sometimes known by my government as Johnny Ray Cornegay III. I am the creative director. I want to look at the camera and not at the screen. I'm the creative director for a nonprofit called the Counter Narrative Project, also known as CNP. And I am, as Corey mentioned, I am the co-host of a podcast called Q Points. And on Q Points, we have conversations about Black music and Black music history. And it's really about meaningful conversation for us. Like, we wanted to create a space where we could come together and dive into these interesting topics that don't always get covered. So that's what I do. When I'm not doing either of those things, I am a photographer. Many people know me artistically as a photographer. And I also work with artists as a consultant to help artists achieve their goals. So that's who I am and who I be.
All right, thank you. So I guess we're just going to jump right in. Got a couple people in on there. So I see my man Darwin on here, and K Maxwell, thank you for checking in. I forgot to do the one thing which I always forget to do with StreamYard, which is if you're joining us from Facebook and you'd like for us to be able to give you a shout out or see your comment or know who you are making a comment, make sure you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. Again, StreamYard.com/Facebook, so that you can give StreamYard permission to allow Facebook to tell us who you are. So make sure you guys do that. And I'm going to get started with the presentation. So
perfect. Yes. So one of the things as we kind of get started with this, and this is, I want us to be able to have a conversation. So for folks that are joining us and are in the chat, please weigh in particular, if you use Podchaser, if you have any insight that you want to share, this is the time to do that. And we are actually going to go into Podchaser in a second. So you already know who I am. My name is Jay Ray. I told you that. So here's all the information on me on the screen. And hold on one second. And so, but if you want to follow me, you can go ahead and go to our website. That's jayrayisthename.com. You can follow me at jayrayisthename anywhere. I'm going to look at the camera, not at the screen. I get in trouble with this all the time. You would think that I don't do this live. So, and then podcast is Q Points. So if you go to qpoints.com, you can learn everything about us. And if you need to send me an email, there's my email address, johnny@static.com. So let's jump into it. So SM Media and Mindshare released a research study recently. They had a whole presentation. It was amazing. There was an article that came out in Coverage US, and at Campaign US. And one of the quotes that they pulled was a note that 71% of monthly Black podcast listeners, right, tuned into a podcast with a Black host in the last month, according to the survey, indicating that Black audiences prefer to listen to shows from creators within their community. Why is this important to what we're about to talk about with Podchaser? So one of the things that Podchaser offers users, this is really important, is Podchaser offers users the opportunity to discover podcasts. You can also rate and review podcasts. Now, why is this dope? For individuals that are using Podchaser, this is just as a user. You can go ahead and rate and review podcasts. This helps the podcasters. It helps with the SEO. This is a really important feature, and it's something that's available. So yes, you can rate and review, obviously, on Apple Podcasts and other podcast platforms. It's also important to do it on Podchaser, is what I'm saying, because it does help with the podcasters being able to get additional reviews for their shows to help their podcast get discovered on the platform. Podchaser also offers folks the opportunity to create a curated list. We'll talk about what that is once we get into the system. And it also will track creator appearances. That's really dope. So say, for instance, when we get into the system, you'll see this. If you follow Corey or if you follow J Ray and we appear on somebody's podcast in Norway and they're on Podchaser, it'll know that we were on that show, and it will tell you, yo, J Ray was over on this show with this thing in Norway. You might want to check it out because you are following us as a creator. So there's a lot of things that it offers for users. Now, for podcasters, this is kind of magic. So as Corey mentioned, Podchaser is the IMDB of podcasting. And if we know anything about IMDB, here's what's dope. You can go into IMDB right now and search for Mahershala Ali and see every film Mahershala Ali was ever in. You know what I'm saying? So you get an opportunity to deep dive into an individual's career. You also get an opportunity to, say, for instance, you really liked Moonlight, which Mahershala Ali starred in, right? You get to deep dive into all the people, all the folks who were involved in the making of that film. Podchaser gives us that ability for podcasts. I mean, that can't be less dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a big deal. So were you about to say something, Corey?
I said, yeah, it is. It's definitely a big deal. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but like,
no, do your thing, man.
This, I think it is important for because cross collaboration is one of the biggest promotional tools you can do as a podcast host, right? So the fact that Podchaser makes that a little bit more easy for you to do, it's just one less thing you have to worry about, and you don't have to worry about having different like link trees and platforms to do all of these things. So you have it in one place, and it's a clean design. It's pretty simple to use.
Absolutely, man.
In the future.
Yeah. So we're going to jump into that, but for podcasters, you can claim ownership of your podcast. So you get a claimed, mark, which is just dope. People like check marks next to things to say that it's real and claimed and official. You have the opportunity for a profile activity feed. And they have these other professional services. It's a ton of stuff. I'm not going to go all into that because this is a 101. And quite frankly, it's like some of the stuff is paid. Some of the stuff is just stuff that I haven't even dived into. So, but it's available to you. We're going to go really high level today and just do like the basics. So here are the 4 things. If you are watching this video and you are a podcaster and you haven't done all 4 of them, these are the 4 things we are going to talk about you doing to get baseline set up. Okay. So those 4 things are, of course, creating a Podchaser profile. All right. Claiming your podcast on Podchaser. Creating your Podchaser creator profile. Ding ding. Your Podchaser profile and your creator profile are different things. We're going to talk about that in a minute. And you can add your podcast credits into Podchaser. And I'm going to show you why that's so dope. I'm going to give you, so my aha, I'm just going to tell you now. The reason why number 4 is my favorite part, Corey, is so often we do work that we forget about. You know what I'm saying? Like we do stuff, we forget about it. And this is a reminder of how much stuff we've done in one spot. So we're going to talk about that. So
add something to that. I also think because a lot of our live feeds are really about podcasters, but we do have like editors and engineers like myself in the group and marketers and stuff like that. I think it's important for us in our community that excuse me, that because we're not always represented in all the big companies and stuff like that, that it is important. This is like a resume for you. So it's important that when you're working on somebody's project, no matter how big or how little it is, you get your credit, right? If you're marketing for somebody's episode, go in here, do your creator, add that you market it, because this is how you're going to sell yourself. This not only to companies that may want to employ you, whether it's as a job or freelancer, but also for potential clients. And you did the work, so get the credit. Don't be ashamed. And this is like you can use this as a resume.
Absolutely, man. Like that is so incredibly important, because the beautiful thing, and I'm so glad you did highlight the fact that, there are other people who are listening to this show as well, not just podcasters themselves, but the folks behind the scenes who make podcasts happen. Because the beautiful thing, and we're going to see it when we go in here, because I've both been in front of the mic and behind the mic, I'll show you what that looks like. You get to put that in for you. And you get to do it. You get to say, yo, I worked on this show, even if on the website or on the iTunes description, they don't have you listed because it ain't enough room. You got it in Podchaser, and you could say, no, I actually was the editor of that show. That everybody likes so much. I was the editor of that show. So, yeah, man, let's jump into the screen share, because we are going to go right into, I'm going to move some stuff on my screen so that I can see what I'm doing here.
Do you need me to switch over to the other one?
Yeah, switch over to the other one if we can, brother. Thank you so much. So, all right, everybody. By the time you leave this video, you can have done this. So this is something that you can actually do right now. So we're going to start with the number 1 thing that I mentioned that everybody should be doing right now, and that is creating your Podchaser profile. You do that very simply by clicking register. I'm going to move this a little bit. You click register. It's a very simple process, like you would create an account anywhere else. You can use Twitter, Facebook, or Google, or you can use an email address. You go ahead and create your account. You're going to have to do the verification stuff and all of that. I'm not going to walk through that, but that's number 1. So number 1, check. Create your Podchaser profile. And you do that by clicking register. So, of course, I came out of Podchaser. Next thing you're going to do is I'm going to just go into my account, because we're going to go to the next step. So I'm going to log in, and so here's the thing, because I mostly care about number 4, some of these other features I don't do a lot of, but I'm going to tell you what all the things that you get. Yes, came back, so it was like done. One of the things that you can do is you can, just like with any other service, right? You can follow other podcasts. So you can search for everything here. You could search for podcasts, you could search for episodes, you could search for creators, lists, users, tags. Let me define tags really quick. Tags are specific to shows. So if you review a show, you can give it a tag. So I just want to point that out. So you can search for specific tags if you choose to. But here's my feed. Like, okay, Halle Berry was on Fresh Air. I need to listen to that show. I probably won't listen to it in Podchaser, but I know it's available now, right? It's in my feed. But the second thing that I indicated that folks should do is you need to claim your podcast on Podchaser. Here's the beautiful thing. Podchaser crawls all the services, right? So it's possible that your podcast is already listed in here because it crawled it from somewhere else, right? So you can search for your podcast. So I'm going to search for Q Points just because, I can do that. So there we are. There's Q Points right there. Now Q Points is obviously already claimed, but if I searched for Q Points and it was not claimed, there is a button where I can claim this podcast right down here at the bottom. You see that? So you can very simply, if you find your podcast, and look, you can add tags to your podcast as well. I can go, and I haven't done that. So my screen is jumping around and I'm not sure why. Hold on. I don't know why that happened. It just went somewhere else. This is live. It's fine. But you claim your podcast. Oh, it didn't go anywhere else. It's just these are really big. So you claim your podcast. You can put in your and it will send an email to the email address associated with your podcast. So it's secure, right? So once your podcast is claimed, you'll get the green check. Boom. Great. So that is number 2 of the things you need to do, right? So you've created your profile and now you've gone in and you've claimed your podcast. Really quickly, if you don't find your podcast, there is a button. It might be up top. Add a podcast. So if you go up to the menu, you can add your podcast using the RSS feed. It's that simple. So if you don't find your podcast or your podcast is really new and Podchaser hasn't had an opportunity to crawl it yet, you can still add it in. You just use the RSS feed. It's very simple.
Yeah, I think for like that, like if you're that, you should add that as part of your launch checklist, is to add your feed to there so that you could just get ahead of the because some feeds take a while to hit, like Apple, and I think sometimes I hear like Google's feed takes a while for it to register. So if you want to just get ahead of that curve and make sure that you have your stuff set up, I would definitely add that to my launch checklist for episodes, as well as if I'm launching a new podcast.
Absolutely. No, I wholeheartedly agree. When so my old podcast, Seeing Sounds, is in the system. In fact, there's going to be something weird in here with that podcast. I don't know if they fixed it or not. There it is. So you see this Seeing Sounds podcast archive. This is my old archive of the show. I had moved it from one platform to the other. It's still registering the old version of the show in here. I can't even claim it because it was like, I don't know how this happened. It was weird, but it's sitting there. It's not, you can't play the audio. Saying all this to say, doing it as part of your checklist early you're absolutely right. It's the right thing to do. So as you are checking off all the places where you could put your podcast, make Podchaser one of those. Okay. So there you go. You've claimed your podcast. Amazing. Now, the next piece, and if folks have questions, drop them in the chat. The next big piece is creating your Podchaser creator profile. This is my user profile that I'm in. So if I go to my profile, my bio is the same that it's going to be, but this is just me as a user of Podchaser. The podcasts I've liked, where I've left a review, you know, that sort of stuff. It's like the Facebook feed. You know what I'm saying? So if you're looking for Johnny Ray Cornegay III or J Ray is the name, you can follow me as a user of Podchaser. But the magic for us, and one of my favorite features, is this creator profile. So here's the deal. If you are on this first page, when you first log in and you scroll down, there's a section here where you will see my creators. When you first log in, there's not going to be anything there, right? You just go ahead and click view all, and then you can add yourself in as a creator. So this is what this is, y'all. This is your Facebook page, your Wikipedia of podcasting description, right? So think of it, this is you in the third person. This is you as the podcaster. This is that profile, right? So you would go ahead and create your creator profile. All right. I am going to take you in to my creator profile so you can see how it's laid out. Okay. So I'm going to click on me here. This is me, J Ray. And look, so it already, you can see at the top, this is shareable. This is why this is dope. To what Corey was saying earlier, you can use this as a resume, right? So if I'm trying to share and I'm trying to get work as an editor, as a producer, I want to be a podcast guest, you can copy this link. It's public and people can go here and see what you do. Okay. That's why this is dope. But what I'm going to click on first, though, is I'm going to edit my profile. So I want to take you on the back end of this process. So there's two sections, right? You can add your basic information and then you can add your credits. Your credits are all the stuff that you've done, right? The caveat being, if you are adding a podcast, the podcast has to also be in Podchaser. Okay. So that's the caveat. Most of them are. I found some stuff that's been out there for a while. So here we go. You of course add your headshot. Pick your dope headshot, y'all. Like, get the one that you love. Get the dope headshot. If you need to get new headshots, reach out to your photographer friends. Reach out to those folks that have creator packages, because you want to put your dope headshot, right? And then you want to fill out the name. So you want to, whatever your professional name is. I put J Ray because as a podcaster, I've leaned into using that moniker. But it could be your name. It's whatever. Short and casual name, as you can see, it's the same. And I've chosen to add in my Twitter profile because I'm not fancy enough to have a Wikipedia page yet. So when I get fancy, I'm gonna add my Wikipedia page in there too. But right now I use Twitter. Okay. Date of birth, it's fine. You can see how old I am. I'm 44. I'm proud of it. And that's my birthday. So if you want to send me a gift or something, just write that down. It's cool. You can do it. And then I put my pronouns in. I use masculine pronouns, but it gives you all the options here for what pronouns that you use. Why is this dope? This is dope because if there are folks that are looking for specific folks for a podcast show, you get to see what pronouns that they use so that when you are booking somebody, you're not using feminine pronouns when I use masculine pronouns and vice versa. You could see here what folks use. You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, there's my bio, which is a very short bio. Corey, I added something interesting, though. I only want to talk about certain things, y'all.
Right.
When people reach out to me, I'm like, I can talk about LGBTQ plus stuff, LGBTQ plus culture stuff, because I'm real Black and I'm real gay. So I can talk about that. Okay. I can talk about music stuff till I'm blue in the face. You know what I'm saying? You want to talk about Moms Mabley and stuff like that? I could even throw in some comedy. I might be able to do that too. But Music, blue in the face. I can talk about the arts. I'm a photographer. I can talk about the art still. I'm blue in the face. These are the 3 things that if you are interested in booking me, you can. I'm your boy. Call me up. I might not be interested in being on your show, but at least you know what expertise I have.
Jake, can I interject real quick? I'm glad you put that in there because I know we were having a conversation in the group the other day about somebody mentioned about electronic press kits.
Mhm.
And I actually was talking to one of my friends who wants to start getting into being guests on podcasting. And if you have a press kit or something, that's one of the things you put on there. So if you set up your creator profile, now you have an electronic press kit basically, and you don't have to go out and pay for it and have somebody do all that stuff. Because I've designed them for some people. It is a little work, but you can put everything in one place, and then you can just send people to your Podchaser page, or you can use it and say, hey, listen, here's everything I've done. These are the episodes I've been on. These are where I've done my presentations. But also, if you want to book me, here's all the areas of topics or areas of interest. And again, like you say, people can see that and they know whether they can talk to you or not. Or, I mean, they might still try to reach out to you.
Yep.
Not everybody likes to read.
Right.
You can have it at the top of the page and they still will miss that part. But, I think that was a great idea to add that to it. And I didn't even think about it till you said it. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Another opportunity for like a EPK without having to go and spend money to get it. So
yeah, man. Like this is why this is my favorite part. But we're about to get into the thing that really makes this magic in about 5 seconds. So the thing that really makes this magic, y'all, is that one, okay, let me take a step back. Click the button that next to this is me. Because this is this is you and your profile. And what it will do is it will just tie the profile, the creator profile, to your user profile. Remember, your user profile and your creator profile are different things. So here's another tip. I haven't seen this happen yet, but I'm sure it will happen. You can add a creator that's not you. So for instance, if you are, say, working with a client, you can create the client's profile for them and do all the things that you need to do. And actually, as a podcast producer, this is now on my list of things that I will offer them when I'm like launching the podcast. I'll go in here and I'll create their creator profile for them so I can do all the tying in Podchaser at the time. So somebody else can create your profile. They just wouldn't check the this is me. So if then your client goes in and says, oh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and create my account. Oh, and that's me, then they can claim it, but you can create it.
Just so you know, I did that. I was doing bookings for a client and getting him on podcast, and that's exactly what I did. That was the first thing I did for him, was set up a Podchaser account under my creator account under mine. And I just did everything, put everything up there, and that was just a part of my service for clients. So if you're a producer, an editor, if you're if you're working anything behind the scenes, I definitely would say add this as a service for your clients, because sometimes asking clients to do things, as you know and I both know, I'm gonna get to it. It's not a priority, but it's something that you can do for people as an added service as well. And then that also ensures that you get the credit you deserve for the work that you do on their podcast. Because not everybody's going. The only issue I have with Podchaser though with that is that sometimes you need their permission. Like I just saw on mine a podcast when I first got started editing like 2 years ago. It's still pending.
It's still pending.
So that's the only drawback behind that part is, and I get it. They want to verify. They want to make sure they verify that you actually did the work with the person whose podcast you're working on. But as you and I both know, and a lot of us know, pod fade is real. So I think it is important for you to add this and do this as fast as possible with your clients, so that you can get the credit immediately and don't drag your feet.
Oh, thank you for that tip. That is perfect.
And you be in limbo like I am right now.
Yeah. Listen, so we're going to get into the magic, y'all. So this is the magic. We do a lot. I have been podcasting formally since 2015. And so over the course of time, I had touched a lot of shows. There's only one. There's two shows actually that I worked on that aren't in Podchaser because they faded way before they could get brought into Podchaser. But I was able to go in, and what you do is you click add credit, right? Add your credits. So you click the add credits button. You search for a podcast. So say for instance, you search for Q Points. Boom. Q Points comes up. Yep, that's them. I see the cover. Boom. You can say, here's what I did. Now, this is the top 4. There's a lot of options, y'all. You just click the button and you can add other things. So if it's like, say you didn't do any of these things, you just go down to add role. And then you can see what the other roles are. So they have this really robust podcast taxonomy that goes on forever. So you can truly pick what you did. You know what I'm saying? On this particular show, it's going to be in here because there's so many things. Fact checker. If you was a fact checker on a podcast and that's a thing that you do, you can have a Podchaser profile with all the podcasts that you've done fact checking on.
Can I, I'm sorry, jump in. I don't mean to.
No, do your thing, man. That's what we're here for.
You mentioned the how do you pronounce it? Taxonomy?
Taxonomy, yeah.
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but Podchaser actually worked on putting together a white paper on the podcast industry taxonomy, which is where these roles come in. So if you're ever confused, and I'm gonna share it in the chat, but if you're ever confused about what those other roles are, you can actually read that white paper, and it's a really good description. It's something that I use. I actually added into this actually in that file group, in the file section of the Facebook group for the Black Podcasters Association. I'm going to plug it right there. So
yes, plug away.
Or if you haven't joined yet, make sure you join. But but it's really good. And I'm not going to lie, like for myself, I had to really think about my role and that I play in helping people with podcasting. I made up my own title, right, based off that taxonomy, because I wear many hats. And it was just like, just to sit here and make it as a list. I was like, well, what does my role entail with all of these things? So when people do ask me what it is, I can say, okay, I do this, that, and the other. But we as podcasters, a lot of us are doing this. We're wearing many of these hats.
Yeah.
So technically, if you really want to be slick, you should give yourself credits for all of the. So if you're in your podcast, you should put yourself as an editor. If you're host, if you're doing video editing, you should be.
Watch this, yo. Listen, here's the deal right here. Look, host, producer, editor, co-host. Host, producer, and editor. I ain't had no co-host on this show. I was a guest over here. I was a this over here. I got 10 other things listed. You can list as many things as you did. I probably need to have marketing. I probably need to have social media and all of that stuff in there. It's fine. I will get. This is when you get exhausted. You'll be like, it's okay. It's all right. I do that too.
A virtual assistant to help you just manage all of this.
Maybe listen. Right. All of the above. Listen, if y'all are in the group and we need to come up with like, okay, we need virtual assistants, folks that do social media stuff, folks that's just really geeky in the details and want to like look at spreadsheets and like update stuff like this. But yo, you said exactly what's the thing is you then get to put all of that stuff here. And what's amazing about this, y'all, is as a person who is working and you know that you're working, you busy and you tired, but you don't always see the benefits, right? You don't always feel it. It's just like you're on the hamster wheel. This gives you the opportunity to step back and see it in black and white. And here's something else that's really cool. It says, where is it? Here it is. Johnny Cornegay. I have been on 109 podcast episodes. I've been on 10 podcasts. My total airtime is 3 days and 6 hours. That's how much talking I've done. I've been working, man. Like I've been like, okay, I have done that much.
Now it doesn't seem like that's a lot, but if you think about it, right? One day is, if you have a podcast that's 24, that's 1 hour, and you have 24 episodes. That's a day. So
That's a day.
it's a lot when you realize it. When
Yes.
you break it down, you don't, that's wow. Yeah.
So when you look at these numbers, you'll be like, oh, so you can send people to this page. And there it is. It tells you who it is. He is the host and editor of Q Points and Seeing Sounds, and the host and editor of Counterpoint, which is really funny. Counterpoint is an older podcast, but yeah, this. I think we did our last episode in 2017. So, but yeah, that was true, right? What is also cool about this is people can then follow your profile, and see every time you show up. So remember when I was talking about the Norway podcast? There we go. You want to see what J Ray was on recently? This was our last Q Points episode. So now if you're looking for a guest on a podcast, you can see how they show up as a guest. Like, so you can look specifically at guests. So say for instance, okay, he was a guest on the Mindful Rebel podcast. There is. So, okay, I'm the only guest listed here because I'm the only one that probably has a Podchaser profile. But listen, this show has 93 episodes, right? That's how many people don't have a creator profile in Podchaser. That's just perspective. This show has 93 episodes, and I'm the only one that's listed as a guest. But he's had 93 guests. So, but the point I was making here is you get to see how J Ray shows up as a guest on a show. So you can scroll down to where it says guest, and you can listen to the show I was on. That's really powerful. I can't say enough about
it's also a great opportunity for those old, especially if somebody's personal brand starts to rise up and people start to learn more, and maybe they're using their Podchaser page to promote themselves. It's also a good opportunity for those people that are fans of them to come and listen to see where they were guest at, and listen to your podcast. So it's one of those I don't want to say it's repurposed content, but it's just one of those like evergreen things that allows your podcast to be introduced. So let's say J Ray, in a year from now, you just blow up, you got 50 million fans, you're doing a world tour, say you do all these things, and people are discovering your Podchaser page, and they're going to listen to the shows that you were on in the past. All of a sudden you might have, you might see an uptick on a particular day or a particular week in your podcast, and it could be simply because people were looking for J Ray's and were listening to the shows he was on. So that's another thing that like you're saying, that one with the only one guest, you're the only one guest. That's possibly where they might be dropping the ball and ensuring that this helps with it, and it also helps with your SEO.
Yeah. Oh,
Podchaser is so big that Google's going to be, constantly crawling it, and those names and your names and those keywords that you use in your descriptions and in your podcast is going to show up as well. So,
yep. Yeah, man. Like, there are so many benefits. So that is my basic 101. Like, those are the things and the reasons why you should be in there. Just setting this up. Just go set it up. Go in and set up your creator profile so that you can go ahead and put in your credits. I truly, and I believe this, like once you go in and start putting in your credits, your whole perspective is going to change about the work that you do. Like it changed for me. Like when I did that, I was like, oh, wow. And then I listened to, it's funny, the show that I picked, I actually just had dinner. It was called the Dear You Project. And I was on that show 2 years ago. And I just had dinner with the host of that show. And he was like, I still play that episode. Like, he was like, I still play like the episode that you was on. And I'm like, yeah. So if he still plays it and he's the host, right? Because I hardly ever go back and listen to anything I've hosted, right? I don't want to hear me. I don't want to see me. But the fact that the host of that show goes back and he's like, yo, I get a gem from that show often, that means if somebody else discovers that on Podchaser, they will get a gem too. And it will probably mean I could get a guest spot on somebody else's show.
Right, definitely. And if you're one of those hosts that likes to go on other people's shows, or you want to start doing the guest tour, the circuit, it's definitely good to do that. I do highly recommend that you do that, because again, it's also, it's a psychological thing. I go on your page, I see that you're a guest on all these different shows. For some reason, I have to have you. I might not even know anything about you, right? I might read your description. I might say, okay, look at your picture, be like, oh, this looks like somebody I might want to talk to. But it is like this mind game, right? Like, it's just like a podcast that has like 1,000 episodes. Somebody's going to be intrigued and like, what is this about? How did they get this far? Like those normal human behaviors that we have, where we just get intrigued by things like that. So that's also a plus, right? So I don't want to sit here and say use it to get on every show, as many shows as possible, but because you want to be strategic in the type of shows you get on, and where where you're taking your brand. But it definitely looks good on the resume.
Yes.
So I do encourage it, and I hope people in the group, especially in our community, really take advantage of it. Make sure you guys follow J Ray on there. All week I kept saying Ray J.
It's all good. So here's what's funny. So the reason why I shifted, so J Ray is actually my original artistic moniker, but I sunsetted it because when you Google it, two things happen. Ray J comes up, and there's a singer who's named J Ray. I believe they're based in Nashville. They're a country singer, and they actually have a pretty large following. So I shifted to using my name, like my full name. Yeah. So for SEO purposes, I just tied J Ray to like my name, and it works. It's ended up working out now. But yeah. So if you Google J Ray, you're gonna get Ray J. So just so you know, and J Ray and Jeremy Ray was funny because I know two Jeremy Rays that are musicians. Oh no, one Jeremy Ray that's a musician and one that comes up in Google. But anyway, so yeah, it's funny.
Well, you would think my name, as unique as my name is, that I would like look it up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. Especially in New York City, I'm in New York, so like I remember one time. Sorry, I know this is go sidebar, but it was funny because my ex-wife and I were having a daughter, and at the same time there was another Corey Gums in the Bronx who was having the same thing. So I was like, that's not me. That's not me. I'm in the Bronx like that. I had to let her know that wasn't me. I ain't out here creeping. Like, nah. But sometimes you could ride the wave of other people's brands, and that simple, keystroke mistake that people make when they're typing, and they can discover you. So
absolutely,
take whatever you can get, man.
Ride that wave if you got to. And SEO. I know that this show is about Podchaser, but SEO is so important. Like one of the things, that's a whole other. And I'm not even an SEO expert. But I see the benefits of like getting that right, like left and right, like getting.
We have a community member in our group, and that's what she does. And we're going to be bringing her up on here, probably in the new year, in the first quarter of the new year. Just going to work out the dates and all that stuff. So, that's definitely going to be a conversation. I would love to have you, attend that, so that because when I saw it at the Afros and Audio, I didn't get a chance to watch her whole presentation. But when I saw it at the Afros and Audio, I was like, yo, I gotta. As a web developer, I know about SEO, but how she was talking about, I was like, you know what? I need to really sit down and watch this, but I also need to bring her in because we need to learn these things.
Yeah, man.
But thank you for the whole presentation with the Podchaser thing, man. If you guys really liked it, make sure you leave a comment, let us know. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like the video. Please like the video. Also subscribe to our channel, and make sure you click the alert bell so that you know about our other remaining our upcoming live feeds that we're having. But we're going to be trying to make this more of a regular thing where we just bring in different people with different skill sets and different ideas on these tools that are out here, because there's a ton of tools. And sometimes there's so many tools, we just freeze. We don't know what to do. There's a lot of free tools. There's a lot of tools you should be paying for that'll really give you a bang for your buck. And we're going to be bringing on different people here for the Podcasters Toolkit series. So that you guys can learn, because it's very important for our community to utilize these tools, especially since many of us are really working with limited resources. So again, thank you, J. Ray. Appreciate it. I'm gonna just shout out your website again, which is J. Ray is the name, which I like how you did that, especially a very probably a name that's probably jray.com was probably taken.
Yeah, jray.com was good and taken. And so I'm J Ray is the name everywhere. If you type that in, you get it all.
And then we also have your Twitter. So make sure you guys reach out. Definitely check out their podcast, the Q Points podcast. The last episode they had, I loved it. It brought back memories. They were talking about fashion and hip hop, and it just brought me back to when I was in high school. And I was telling J. Ray in the comments in our conversation, I was like, you reminded me how I screwed up my jabots and my cross colors playing football. And, they weren't cheap back then, so
right. No,
my family gave me the business, but I gotta play my football, So, but thank you for this. I really appreciate it. Again, just so you guys know, I actually created a curated list for our community members on Podchaser. So I need you guys to go to Podchaser, set up your accounts. Please set up your accounts. When you do, let me know so I can find you, or send me a message, or leave a comment in the group. Maybe I'll start a thread in the group so everybody can put their links for them in their podcast, so I can add you to that list, because we're going to use that again. That's another way to help promote you guys, and as well as for the SEO stuff as well. So, and we got to let people know, like, yo, we out here. Our people are out here. We're producing some great content and we're working. So make sure you set up your Podchaser account. Again, thanks, J. Ray, for being here. Maybe we can have some other future conversations. If you guys want to come up here, you want to share some things, make sure you reach out to me in the group. I'm just going to end that with, as well as, if you want to stay in tune with what we're doing, make sure you go to blackpodcastersassociation.com, sign up for the newsletter. If you're not in the group, you can find us on Facebook, the Black Podcasters Association, and on our YouTube channel, the Black Podcasters Association as well. So thank you, brother. Have a good evening. We're going to wrap up. Again, in the comments, make sure you let us know how you felt, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Peace, y'all.